Hi, my name's Morgan. I'm an addict. I wasn't sure what part of my story to tell tonight, so I figured I would tell the story of how I found this room, because this actual room is pretty important to me. I went to treatment in 2021, in October of 2021, and I was a blur of a person by that point. A lot of us are. I was hollow, but I detoxed for the first time there. I didn't even know what detoxing was, even though I had spent the last 10 years of my life never being sober for a single day. And before going to treatment, not being able to go probably an hour without drinking for at least 2 years. The detox was pretty brutal. A lot of us here have gone through it, so I don't need to get into the nitty-gritty. But after I got through the worst of it, I started talking to the people at my treatment center. And you know that feeling like you never belong, right? We all grow up feeling other, absent, alien. When I got to treatment and I finally realized where I was, because honestly, I woke up in a bed in the middle of nowhere, Quebec. My family had sent me to a farm to get better. With big fields where I could play with my addict friends, you know. But I met the most amazing and incredible people in that treatment center. Some of the most honest, the most authentic, kind-hearted people that actually understood me for the first time. I thought I had found my people earlier in my life. You know, the punk scene, the rock scene, the art scene, you know. But once I got into recovery, once I was introduced to the world of recovery, which I had never experienced before, I've really found some pretty amazing folks. And then a guy showed up. I'd gotten pretty close with some of the girls, but I mostly hung out with the guys. And there was a guy that showed up, and he was in just as rough shape as me when I got there, but I had already gotten through the worst of the detox. So I asked him if he knew where the food was, and he didn't, so I took him to where the food was, and I made him a hot chocolate, and I made him some toast, and he looked at me and asked if I worked there. And I said, "Oh, no, man, I'm just as screwed as you." Sorry. We became really good friends, and then I left treatment, and you know, it was my first experience getting sober, so I thought we were all going to make it. We were all gung-ho. We were all going to be okay. But then a lot of my friends weren't okay right away, and neither was I. I found Zoom meetings, which were a lifeline and helped keep me alive, fighting for sobriety for a long time. And I got a couple confusing and cryptic calls from this friend. And he asked me if he could keep some stuff at my place. He was leaving his sober living house and going to a men's shelter, and he asked if I would just take care of his stuff for a couple of weeks until he could find his own place, right? And I did, and then his phone line was disconnected. And so were the phone lines of so many of my friends that I made at that treatment center. By August of 2022, one of those friends had died. I spoke to her mother on the phone. She wanted to know, I wanted to know what happened, and I found out. And I kept on struggling because I wanted to be sober. I had had a taste of it in my treatment center, but I didn't know how, and there was still this piece missing. And that went on for a long time. So then, and I had these bags, right? I had these bags sitting in my apartment, these bags of things, just garbage bags. I couldn't go through them. They were my friends. I didn't want to go through them. I didn't know what was in there, and it was whatever it wasn't for me. I was just hanging on to them. And after 6 months, I contacted the treatment center to see if I could find next of kin for this friend, whom I had come to peace with the fact that he was gone. Treatment center couldn't find a next of kin. So I just held on to the bags. You know, there was stuff. I couldn't throw them out, and my cat liked them. So Anyway, my struggles kept going, and then one night there was a knock at my door, and I looked through the peephole of my door, and there was my friend 15 months later after dropping those bags off. And I looked through the peephole, and I thought I was looking at a ghost. And one thing I never told you is one of the reasons I was so happy was because I thought I had died. I thought that I was finally dead, and that the struggle was over, the pain was over, and that you were there to show me where we go next. My friend's in this room, by the way. His name's Gerald. And he was sober, and he was healthy, and I was a little upset that I wasn't dead, which is so morbid to say. And he told me about these rooms that he was coming to, and he told me about all of these wonderful people that he knew and how good he felt. And apparently he came into this room and told John about me, and John told him about my now sponsor, Alexandra, a woman who the first time I ever met her, she dropped off a big book to my apartment. She started texting me every morning, just saying hi. And one day, after many suggestions of coming into an in-person meeting, she just asked me what I was so afraid of. And I told her, and she told me to read page 17 of this big blue book I hadn't even cracked open. And I did. And then I came here. And it was the first time I ever said the Lord's Prayer was in this room. I knew it from TV and movies. The first time I ever heard the prayer of St. Francis was in this room. And the first time I ever really prayed was in this room. And I'm sober, and it feels good. Yeah. I don't know how much time I have. I don't know if I run out, but then 67 days into my newfound joy and sobriety, I lost my stepfather very suddenly, the one man that had been there for me. Only guy I've ever really related to as a father. We don't call people dad in my family. It's a big, long, complicated story, but and I managed to get through it sober because I had learned how to pray. Yeah. I thought when I was a kid, I wasn't really exposed to much religion, and my weird understanding of prayer was it was, asking an invisible man for the things you wanted. And it just didn't make too much sense to me. And it was because of the people in this room sharing their faith that I actually found out what prayer was, which was just wanting the strength to do whatever is needed of me. And in my sobriety, I found that strength. I now work for that treatment center as a peer support worker. And yeah, I just can't thank you guys enough. So that's my message of hope, that, you're never too far gone. And at the end of the day, Gerald was there to show me, the next place I was supposed to go. Just wasn't heaven. Or maybe this is, I don't know. Anyway, thank you guys so much.